Hi there, this video continues our series of the Bigcommerce version 2 product import process. We and we're now we just finished the mod 5 portion, and now we are going to the final steps for creating the import file, the CSV file. So um, picking up where we left off with mod 5, we go ahead and copy the mod 5 to the new one. Move our copy to the end there, and we rename this one import. Okay, so this is the final cleanup where we're going and ensuring all the proper BigCommerce naming is right on the columns. That way, when we run the import program is able to automatically match up the right columns to where it needs to import. Or else you got to do it manually. And add the control columns that tell some of the refining parameters that are necessary for the products. And then we do an export to a CSV file. Because for some idiot reason, BigCommerce cannot take a spreadsheet and import it in spreadsheet format. So most of this, we're not really going to be modifying any data at this point. This is more removing columns that are no longer relevant for the importing, and we're not going to use any further. So in this case, removing all these specification names and values, those are not relevant to the import. That information's already been uh, taken care of and put in the descriptions. And um, then adding the control parameters. In the earlier steps, we copied the import template guide here so we could reference back and forth and make sure that we put the right naming on the columns. And of course, we've got these additional parameters, like we have to have the product type column, and it has to be a P in it so that the import program knows it's a product, and stupid little nonsense like that. Luckily, of course, the import program doesn't care what order the columns of information are in. All it cares about is that the name is 100% accurate, that the data is in the proper format. If numbers are not right, if you've left a dollar sign on the price or something like that, it'll bark at you and you'll have to redo it. So we can remove the columns of data that are of no application anymore, and we can add the other bits of information to the end. That way it's easier to check. Using the E2 import guide, we've got a np-add thing, and for ease, it probably as simple as just to copy all these columns, uh, paste them to the very end of the import tab, and then fill in the default information as needed. All right, so the final result should look something like this, where we've got the cleaned up data from the previous processes here in the front, and towards the back we've added the final control parameters here. So item type product, product type P, free shipping no, allow purchases yes. All these things are necessary. So just simple copy and then do a click and fill down. Some of these are duplicate information, so like product information description, we tend to use the part number because we can't think anything better at the moment. Is it a thumbnail? Of course, these are different for image 1, image 2, image 3. Simple control parameters. Page titles and meta descriptions. So far, we're just copying the product name into those fields. It just helps the Google search kind of identify and match up the images in its search engines. Show product conditions, sort order, manufacturer, part number. So these are all the control fields of default settings that needed to be added. Once we have that all done, and we've looked end to end to make sure that these control parameters are covering all the records all the way down, that we didn't just like do the first record and forget the rest. Now we can do the last couple of steps before we go to Bigcommerce and import it. So, as we said, this is XLSX spreadsheet format, and the import program only handles CSV files. So be sure you click save before you do the next step, or else if you have to redo this process, you will have lost all of your last configuration steps. Because when you do save as CSV, it kind of you've severed the connection and lost all the things you last did. So before you do the next anything else, click save. All right, now once that's done, now we can do File and Save As. Be sure, of course, that you're on the Import tab, not one of the other ones. Do File, Save As, and same location, but now rather than saving it as an XLSX file, you're going to save it as a MS-DOS CSV file. All right, then we click Save. It's always going to give us weird warning messages. In this case, that I've already got this in existing, but that's fine, whatever. We're just going to overwrite that. All right. This warning is just telling us that the CSV file is only going to contain the information that's on the import tab. It's not going to do the other tabs, which is fine because we did not want that anyway. So we do OK. All right, now the CSV file will have been created. As we see here, this is now the CSV file we're looking at, not the original spreadsheet file. That's so we're not doing any further changes. We've just been exporting the information out of the spreadsheet from the import tab into a CSV file. So we go ahead and close this now because we're done with that, and tell it don't save the changes because it's CSV file. All right, now if we go back to our thing here, here is the spreadsheet, and if we have to redo the process, we use the spreadsheet file, right? Because you can't really work with the CSV file. The CSV file here is the one that we're importing. You want to check and make sure that it is below 20 megs in length because the import program will crap out if the file is larger than 20 megs. If it is larger than 20 megs, what you have to do is go back to the original spreadsheet, take the import tab, make a copy, and put like half the records in import 1 and half the records in import 2 to create to split the CSV file into 2 smaller ones, or however many you need. Typically 2 is good enough, and then you have to do the import process on both of them. So this is our final file, and if we did everything right, this should go pretty smoothly. So once we are log into our Bigcommerce and do products import, it's going to nag you about going to the version 3 process. Absolutely do not do that because the version 3 process is a dicked up mess and they don't have it debugged yet. All right, so we're going to choose our file. There's our import file and do open. All right, you want to select that this was created using the bulk edit template. And yes, you want to overwrite. If you run this multiple times, be sure to select the delete existing images, or you duplicate copies of the image files, which can become a mess later on. It's going to detect the categories and hopefully match up everything. So take the defaults from here. And of course, yes, the file contains headers. All right, so we do next. Now we want to do a quick perusal here, and if we use the right names for the columns in the spreadsheet and the CSV file, it will automatically identify them and match them up. So we want to just do a quick check and make sure that it has matched up and identified the columns correctly. If there's one that it's missed, probably because we misspelled something and it's not the standard, then we'll want to have to go ahead and like manually match it to whatever it was that's in our CSV file. So yeah, we browse through all that and then do next again. And with some luck, we will start the import and it'll work. Now, yeah, the version 2 process is kind of shitty in that if it has errors, it doesn't like generate an error file that you can download and work with. It just has a little window that kind of pops up and you can kind of peruse it a little bit. So a lot of times you'll have to like manually copy and paste that information out of that little window that pops up into a text file or something to try and work with later, because you only get to look at that once and you can't ever get back to it. Just perusing the status as it's going along, it looks pretty good. It's importing them. It's not seen any errors so far. There was a duplicate record because there was a test record. So this is looking pretty good so far. As we can see, the import process is not terribly fast, but it's still chugging along pretty good. So now the import process is complete. This all looks pretty cool. As we mentioned, one of the big problems with the V2 process is it doesn't give you a downloadable report. If there were errors, like we could call these duplicates here for errors, the only thing you're going to get, and only once, is a more information tab that you can click on, and you get this little window here. This is your one and only chance to copy out somewhere else this information. You cannot get it ever again. So if you do have a lot of errors, you need to trace these damn things down. Click on this more information, take and copy everything, put it in something like Notepad, and save it locally so that you can reference it back as you're making the corrections, because you will never be able to get this information again. This is one of those annoying quirks with version 2. Version 3 doesn't have this problem, but version 3 is fucked up in every other way, so don't use that. Anyway, very important. Do that, and then you're good. All right, and then we can go ahead and view some of the imported products and see what we've got here. See if this looks kind of functional. And generally, this looks good so far. We want to, of course, in this case, we've got like 900 records that we imported. I don't expect a manual check of 900 records, but you should do a quick perusal of 4 or 5, and the biggest thing we'd be looking for is broken links, miscategorized. Maybe somehow we screwed up the categories and it's not in the right place. We see the categories have been created good because they weren't there before. Take a quick perusal of the descriptions. That looks good. View the record in the storefront. That's gonna make more sense. Now, of course, I clicked on the wrong thing. All right, so here's the record in the storefront. Description looks good. Specifications look good. Features look good. Click on the PDF links. Make sure that they work. Do this with at least 4 or 5 random records, just to make sure the basics work, and that should be satisfactory. Here is the Intermatic tab, and here we can see the products. We have a fair bit of image coming too soon, which I'm not terribly happy with, but it is what it is. Look at a transformer, make sure that was classified in something that made sense. It's probably accessories or something. Yep, all looks good. All looks good. If there is a major screw up, typically in the categories or the branding, something nonsensical like that, then you'll have to rerun the process. When you do, be sure that you do the overwrite and delete images, or else you'll create multiple copies of the images in the product records, which will foul things up later on. Um, Update process is a completely different thing, which will be recorded at another time. But with the update process, we don't re-upload all the information columns. We just upload the information columns that are the essential ones for tagging, and just the column or two of information that we're changing. That way, it reduces the likelihood of breaking things that were working before. Okay, so once you're pretty sure that the import has worked correctly, then we move over to the post-import verification and cleanup steps. So done is not done. There's still a little bit left. Because it's too easy, especially when you've been staring at this data for so long, to just overlook glaringly obvious errors. Um, we will have people that are different from the person doing the import as auditors to do a check. Send them a copy of the final spreadsheet, not the CSV file, um, and then they'll do some checks to see if they can find anything that may have been missed in the import, and do a few random checks on the site on a few records as well. Once you get the okay from them that it looks okay, um, or if it's not, we might want to, if we find broken PDF links, there is a program Web Verify file URL that will take the BC export file and check those PDF file URLs that are embedded in the descriptions to make sure that those links are not broken, because that's our biggest Achilles heel, the hardest thing to check. Everything else is kind of fairly simple, but that one's a little hard to get around. Um, if that's not necessary, and the auditors have done everything and you get a clean bill of health from them, then the final step is to run a program to clean up the temporary import folder for the images. And that's a uh, webdev images delete all BC program. And what that's going to do is it's going to go on the back end, and this images import folder, as we said, once the import is successful, the Bigcommerce copies these, puts it in its own file system, and renames it. And these files are never used again. And since it doesn't automatically delete, we have to go in and uh, clean them out manually. But anyway, if you set this program loose, it'll go ahead and clear this out for you, so it's nice and clean and empty for the next time you do imports. It is important that we do this regular maintenance, or else we will royally fuck things up further on down the line, and we don't want to do that. So, and the final step after the deleting out the redundant images from the web dev is to take all of the files in the file system that you are working with and are sitting on your local drive, and archive them in the permanent record, because we will come back to this again every time we have to do product updates, and store this entire file system, all the pics and PDFs, to the Synology network attached storage device as our permanent backup in case we need to reference, which we will have to do when we do updates in the future. And that is the final process, end to end, for BigCommerce product imports. Thank you for your time and attention. Have a wonderful day.